You're the very most fun I've ever found, and you're my friend. Hi there, this is Cricket talking to you. Have you ever gone on a vacation? That's when you travel someplace new and have all kinds of fun doing all kinds of different things you wouldn't get to do at home. On our last vacation, my whole family got to fly on a jet, even my little brother. We went to a big city to visit my Aunt Jane. She lives way high up in a tall apartment building. When I looked out our living room window, I could see lots more tall buildings and bridges and tons of little boats on the river. I could see lots of cars and buses too, and trucks and even some trains. And I could see about a zillion people walking around on the sidewalks. Only picture this. They were so far down, they all looked like little teeny ants. The city is so big, I said to Aunt Jane. I bet it's easy to get lost in. You're right, Cricket, said Aunt Jane. It can be very confusing sometimes. And then you know what? She sang a song to me about someone visiting the city for the very first time. Here's how it goes. I went to the city to buy a coat in a big department store, but I got lost in underwear on the 22nd floor. Oh, the elevator, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go uptown. The street's so wide, I called a cab just to get across, but I never even got to the other side, 'cause the driver, he got lost. Oh, the elevator, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go uptown. I decided to take a stroll just around the park. Started out this morning and I didn't get back till dark. Oh, the elevator, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go uptown. Remember when I was talking about my Aunt Jane? Well, as soon as we arrived at her house, I mean apartment, we met a man in a fancy uniform who helped us with our bags and things. This is Mr. Johnson, said Aunt Jane. He's our apartment house doorman. If you ever need help, just ask Mr. Johnson. Then we all rode in a really fast elevator up to the 23rd floor. And did my tummy do flip-flops. After we had lunch, my Aunt Jane said, Cricket, why don't you go down to the lobby and get our mail from Mr. Johnson? Okay, I said. Golly gee, that elevator went even faster this time, and my tummy did flip-flops again. The mailman hadn't come yet, so Mr. Johnson and I waited for him outside. Then all of a sudden, a car screeched, and there was a whole lot of honking. I looked up, and what do you think I saw? There was the cutest little poodle, and he was right in the middle of the street. Oh, Mr. Johnson, save him, I said. So Mr. Johnson rushed into the street, scooped up the little poodle, and brought him back safe and sound. That was a close call, young fella, said Mr. Johnson. Ruff, ruff, said the little poodle. Then I asked Mr. Johnson if I could hold him, and guess what? I think that little poodle really liked me, because he started licking me all over. So I said to Mr. Johnson, can I take him upstairs? I'm afraid not, Cricket, said Mr. Johnson. We're not allowed to have dogs in our building. He has to go back home. But I said, how'll we find his owner? He doesn't even have a name tag. That is a problem, said Mr. Johnson. What should we do? I know, I said. Maybe there's someone who knows where he lives. How about the mailman, said Mr. Johnson. Here he comes now. Excuse me, sir, I said to the mailman. Do you recognize this little poodle? Yes, said the mailman. I think I do. That looks like Maxie. He lives right around the corner at Mrs. Silverman's house. Then all of a sudden, Maxie started barking and wiggling and barking. Ruff, 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 said Maxie. Ruff, 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 ruff. And then a lady came around the corner with a leash in her hand. It was Mrs. Silverman. Maxie she called. Here, Maxie! And Maxie wiggled so hard, he jumped right out of my arms and ran straight to Mrs. Silverman. Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for finding my Maxie, said Mrs. Silverman. I've been so worried about him. Don't thank me, said Mr. Johnson. It was Cricket here who spotted him. So Mrs. Silverman thanked me and said she wanted to give me a reward, but I asked her to get Maxie a name tag instead. I'll do that right away, said Mrs. Silverman. And she took Maxie home, and that little poodle barked ruff, ruff, ruff all the way. Was that a cute story or what? You know, it's not just little dogs that have trouble crossing the street in the city. It's kids, too. So I always make sure to cross the street with a grown-up. And of course, I know all about traffic lights. Red means stop, and green means go, and yellow means slow down. Tell you what, you can help me play a rhyming game with red and green. Listen carefully, and when I say because the light is, you say red or you say green. Let's try one, and you'll see what I mean. A king stood on the corner, and next to him a queen. You may go, I said to them, because the light is... I hope you said green. Green means go. Let's try another one. A moose stood on the corner, the biggest I have seen. You may go, I said to him, because the light is... Green is the right answer. Green means go. Here's another one. A clown stood on the corner with a tulip on his head. You must stop, I said to him, because the light is... I hope you said red, because that's the right answer. Red means stop. Here comes the last one. A bear stood on a corner. His name was Fearless Fred. You must stop, I said to him, because the light is... The answer is red. Red means stop. Remember that song Aunt Jane taught me about the city? Well, I'd like to teach it to you now. Here's what you do. When I sing the elevator, it goes up and down. You go way up on your toes and then bend your knees and go way down. When I sing revolving doors go round and round, you put your arms straight out to the side and turn round and round. When I sing the cabs in the street go beep, 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 you pretend you're honking a car horn. We'll do it real slow the first time. Ready? Here goes. The elevator, it goes up and down. Revolving doors go round and round. Cabs in the street go beep, beep, beep whenever we go uptown. The elevator, it goes up and down. Revolving doors go round and round. Cabs in the street go beep, beep, beep whenever we go uptown. Wow, are you great or what? We'll do this song again after our story. Storybook adventures, they're the greatest kind. There's no end to all the fun you'll find. You can have adventures and still be safe at home with a storybook adventure of your own. This is a story about a little girl who lived in a big skyscraper in the middle of a big city. And it's also about a funny green frog who lived in a big pond in the middle of a big park in the middle of the same city. If you want, you can play a city game in your activity book while you listen. One day, the little girl, who was a little lonely because she'd just moved to the big city, went to the park to play with her favorite ball. She began to play catch by herself because she had no one else to play with. She threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and threw the ball up in the air, and she forgot to catch it. The ball bounced and then rolled and then plopped right into the pond. Oh no, cried the little girl. There goes my favorite ball. How am I ever gonna get it back again? Then all of a sudden she saw a funny green frog at the edge of the pond. Ribbit, ribbit. What hit me? Ribbit, said the frog. I'm sorry, Froggy, said the little girl. My favorite ball just fell into your pond. Well then, said the frog, I'll bring your ball back to you, if you only grant me a wish. The little girl was so surprised she didn't even wonder how a frog could talk like a little boy. "Okay, Froggy," she said, "I'll give you whatever you wish. How about 2 nickels and a penny and a half a meatloaf sandwich and an old comic book I've read about 5 times?" You see, those were the only things she could find in her pockets. "I don't want your money," said the frog, "and I don't want your sandwich, and I don't want your comic book. But I do want you to take me home and let me be your friend." "I promise to take you home with me," said the little girl, "if only you'll bring back my ball." So the funny green frog dove deep down into the pond. He swam around and round and finally brought back the little girl's ball. The little girl was so happy to have her favorite ball again, she ran all the way home and forgot to take the little frog with her. "Ribbit, ribbit," cried the little frog, but the little girl was gone. Later that evening, the little girl was having dinner with her father high up in the big skyscraper in the middle of the big city. All of a sudden, they heard a strange sound outside their door. "Little girl, ribbit," said a croaky little voice. "Ribbit, little girl, you promised to take me home with you." "Who's that at the door, my dear?" the little girl's father asked. "It's a funny green frog, Father," she said. "He rescued my favorite ball for me, and I promised to take him home, but then I forgot." "Well, promises are important," the little girl's father said, "so you may let the frog come in." The little girl opened the door and said, "Come in, Froggy. I'm so sorry I ran off without you." "That's all right," said the frog, "but I've had such a long climb up all those stairs, and I wondered if I could have a bite to eat, and then perhaps a nice little nap." "Can Froggy stay?" the little girl asked her father. "Of course he may," her father said. The little girl was so happy to have a friend at last. She made a place for the frog in her very own room. First, she filled a big bowl full of water, and then she set the bowl on her windowsill, and then she put the frog in the bowl. "Oh, Ribbit, this is lovely," said the funny green frog. "I can see all the lights of the city." "Yes," said the little girl, "and if you look down below, you can see your pond, too." Then she blew the frog a kiss and laughed and said, "Good night, sweet prince." Next morning, the little girl jumped out of bed bright and early because she was so looking forward to playing with her new friend. But when she looked in the bowl, what do you think? The funny green frog was gone. But there was a note that said, "Come down to the pond as soon as you can." So the little girl took her favorite ball and went down to the big pond in the middle of the big park in the middle of the big city. She began to play catch by herself because she had no one else to play with. She threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and threw the ball up in the air and caught it, and threw the ball up in the air and forgot to catch it. The ball bounced and then rolled and then, "I've got it," said the little boy who was playing by the pond. "Oh, thank you," said the little girl. "Would you like to play catch with me?" Said the little boy. And so they did. And the little girl was so happy to have a friend again, she didn't even wonder how in the world a boy could talk like a little frog. Was that a sweet story or what? And now before we leave the city, let's sing our city song one more time. Remember, up and down, then round and round, then honk the horn. Here we go. Oh, the elevator, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go uptown. I decided to take a stroll just around the park. I started out this morning and I didn't get back till dark. Oh, the elevator, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go uptown. Oh, the elevator, it goes up and down, revolving doors go round and round, the cabs in the street go beep, 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 whenever we go uptown. If you want, you can turn my tape over now and we'll go visit the farm. I'm so glad we could visit the city together. I've had a wonderful time. Just remember, I'll be